Hey everyone, it's Rochelle here with Rooted, a moment of family health. Man, was it just 3 weeks ago everything was normal? I went to work, my husband went to work, my son went to school, my daughters went to the best babysitter in the world, and now life has turned upside down. Wow. And with this upheaval to our life, that certainly impacts how we have and implement a daily rhythm, how our needs are met each day. And so I think it's important that we revisit or rebuild an idea called rituals of connection. Rituals of connection was developed by a psychologist and leading marriage researcher named Dr. John Gottman, and I've really grown to appreciate his work. But he talks about how when we can discuss in detail about how moments of connection can look, then we're able to identify our needs and able to learn the needs of our spouse and family members. And so while rituals of connections typically look like how are we going to say goodnight to each other at bedtime, how do we greet each other when we wake up in the morning, what does it look like for one or both spouses to come home from work and re-enter the home life, and how do we develop weekend plans, how are we going to coordinate those? While those are all good, and I would encourage you to discuss that within your family, I think the days we're living in certainly require some needed rituals of connection and some additional rituals of connection for our marriage and our family life. And I'm thinking about how, man, when I was dating, I couldn't get enough of my husband, right? Like, I wanted to be with him 24/7. And now we are together 24/7. And so I think discussing rituals of connection is really important because it allows us to have this mutual understanding of how to interact or what is needed to meet each of our daily needs. And so I want to invite you to consider asking your loved ones, specifically if you're married, a spouse, or if or family members that where it's age appropriate, consider asking them some of the following rituals of connection. And this again is this idea of how will we each go about making this ritual of connection happen so it can become a predictable practice. On Sunday, this past Sunday, Pastor Joe talked about creating a daily rhythm for our families. And this idea of rituals of connections takes it just a little bit more detailed. So the specific moments where needs arise can be discussed. And so consider asking, like, now that we're together 24/7, what can we expect our days to look like? Or how does a workday begin at home? How does it end? What signals the ending of the workday at home? Another is, how can we let each other know when one of us needs to talk or be alone? How can we rely on one another to connect? What does it look like for you to get your needs for personal space met in this daily 24/7 season that we're in? What does our time together look like? What does our family need in regards to a weekly rhythm of play? What will that weekly rhythm of play look like for our family? And now that one that I don't love, but I can't go on a date with my husband now. And so now that we're at home and we need to consider couch dates, what are some ways that we can intentionally focus on dates each week on the couch? And so I just want to invite you to consider asking your spouse, your family members, where that's appropriate, those questions. I think when we have details and intentionality towards meeting those, these these rituals of connection will be defined, and that will help us have a mutual understanding of the needs within our family, while it also really prevents disappointment and resentment and anger that can come from those unclear or maybe even unspoken expectations. And so I invite you to consider redefining your rituals of connection as it pertains to what can we expect our days to look like? How does a work day begin and how does it end? How can we let each other know when we need to talk about an issue, or how do we let each other know when we need alone time? How can we rely on each other to connect? What will our family rhythm of fun look like each week? And how do we develop intentional couch dates during this season? So I wish you and yours some really sweet moments as you define rituals of connection within your home. Take care.